Welcome to the Wrestling Wrealm presents Championship Culture. I'm Brandon the Guy, and remember, every belt has a story. Before we get started, just want to tell you one quick thing. For more great content, you can watch our flagship show, The Wrestling Wrealm, anytime on youtube.com/The Wrestling Wrealm, where the real Dwayne Allen, Brian H. Waters, and Brother Hugh, and myself explore many topics in the world of professional wrestling. You can follow The Wrestling Wrealm on all social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, with the handle of Wrestling Wrealm. Don't forget to like, subscribe so you never miss a show and a chance to engage in the conversation with the brothers. Feel free to stream and download all of our content on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Podcasts. Now, as you saw the title of today's show, it deals with the Signature Series. And it feels like every other month, or at least at every premium live event, we seem to get some new Signature Series belt comes out. And I think for this topic, I might have to call in some help. So today, I asked for another wrestling enthusiast to come on and talk to us today. So today, if you paid attention, we got JustinRitch from JustinRitch Talks. Now, Justin is from the Bronx, and he currently lives in the DC metro area. And JustinRitch Talks is a wrestling and sports, music, and pop culture. You can catch him on all social media platforms at It's JustinRitch. You can catch him discussing wrestling pay-per-views with JustinRitch Talks on his YouTube channel. He's also the co-host of TWG Fan Club on Wednesday nights from 7 p.m. to 9 Eastern Standard Time on Those Wrestling Girls Twitch channel. Justin also periodically appears on Those Wrestling Girls platform for TWG Sound Offs, Thirsty Thursdays, and TWG Collision. In addition, Justin also appears from time to time on Turbo Talks with Mimi and Corey on Tuesday nights at Twitter Spaces around 6:35 Eastern Standard Time. He also occasionally appears on True Hill Sports and True Hill Heat Wrestling, both channels located on YouTube. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and pleasure to present to you Justin Rich. Come on in, brother, so the people can see you.
Yo,
what's going on? What's going on? So we got the man himself. It's been a long time coming. I know I've been talking to you probably about, a month plus since you made a post and kind of put down a challenge for me today. So I accepted the challenge and I said, we're going to turn this challenge into a whole championship culture episode. So what you got to tell the people before we get into the topics of today?
Damn, you ran off that bio and it's like, yo, I've done so many things in like 9 months because I really just started this like end of August, beginning of September, and just listing all that stuff is like, holy shit, like so much in 9 months, like crazy.
Well, you forgot one thing, right?
What'd I forget?
You forgot to tell them about your 4 points.
My little 4-point play that you can catch on JustinRitch Talks, where I break down pay-per-views from time to time. The next one I'll be doing is Money in the Bank.
And the thing I like about those 4 points, it's engaging. So I love it because I was like, oh, that's different. Because so many people you hear about certain people doing ups and downs, talking about what was good, what happened after the pay-per-view. That 4 point is definitely unique to you, and I appreciate the time of you coming on today with Championship Culture.
Thank you for having me, man. Anytime.
Oh, no problem. So what people don't know, on the Twitterverse, you had said, you needed the guy to do a belt review for you. So, of course, I said, well, I wonder what belt he's talking about. Then you told me the belt, and I said, well, that's one of the topics I wanted to have today because WWE, like I said, keeps coming out with these Signature Series. Mm-hmm. So the first one I want to dive into before we get to what you need me to do, let's talk about these Signature Series. When you look at some of them, and the first one I want to talk about is the Big Eagle version. And the reason I'm doing the Big Eagle is if you watch any of the championship culture, You know I'm a fan of the Big Eagle. Nothing wrong with the Wing Eagle, but I'm a fan of the Big Eagle. So I'm gonna show you a picture of the Big Eagle, and this is the one I want to discuss and break down. Give me 1 second. Let me flash this on the screen for you. Hopefully I'm not. All right, so there
Take
we
your
have
time.
we got three versions that the WWE has come out with. Some of them are the scratch logo, some of them is the block logo. Three distinct wrestlers, and they have a lot of pros and cons with them. So let me ask you this: what's your initial take on these three signature wing eagle? I mean, I'm sorry, big eagle belts.
They're very unique and very distinct. Where I think one of those is a Triple H one. You got the Mankind one. I'm guessing the third one's Kane, just by the colors and the scratches, maybe. But like
Yeah,
they, but like they're very distinct. So that's like the first thing that like it grabs my attention immediately, especially like the belt framework of them. And that's one thing where it's like you want to be able to like grab them. Like what sets this belt apart from like the normal championship belts that you see on TV, whether it's WWE or whatever companies and stuff like that.
and see, the one thing I can say is a good thing about the signature series. It kind of reminds you of that wrestler directly. It makes you feel like, oh, you know what? When you look at it, you say you think it's Kane, and you look at it because it kind of looks like a semblance of his mask. And even with the Triple H, if anybody seen any of Triple H entrances, we know how his little symbol is, and then Mankind with his mask. They kind of incorporate that into the actual Big Eagle, which is a cool thing. But I feel like it's kind of like a thing where it's like, could we have did something different? And even when it comes to the straps of them, the different colors on them, it just feels like those they just say, okay, let's just slap a wrestler and a belt and let's merge it together. Because when you look at it, it kind of reminds you of that wrestler, but it's still the same title. Does it really make you remember when that? Do you remember when Kane won it? Do you remember when Triple H won his first one? I think everybody remembers when Mankind won his first WWF. Was it WWF at the time or were they still WWE? They were
I
WWF
think
at
that
the
was
time, but
WWF still.
yeah. And everybody seems to remember that. So does that belt take you back to that moment?
The Mankind one does because you said it perfect. It's like, where were you when Mankind won the title for the first time? Where that got spoiled, and we were like, we're still turning in because what? I gotta see this for my eyes. And then there's something that you see come up on social media time and again where you have the brawl on the outside, you have Stone Cold's music hits, and like the craziest of all pops, only to be drowned out like seconds later when Stone Cold knocks out Rock, throws Mankind on him, 1, 2, 3. Mankind becomes champion, and that place just erupts. And you see Mankind standing tall with the title. And it's like that one really takes you back to like memories. Whereas like the other two is like I gotta remember like when Kane won his first one, I can't really recall. And the same goes for Triple H. But like Mankind's like I think if you're a true wrestling fan, you know that one by heart.
Now let me ask you this. Do you think about the Big Eagle when you think of Triple H, or do you think about the Big Gold? Which one do you associate with Triple H?
Probably Big Gold with Triple H.
And see, and I think that's my con to that belt. That it, yeah, okay, he was doing an attitude era and everything, and Triple H was the rise, especially with DX. But I think the Triple H that really was Triple H, I associate him with the Big Gold more because it just felt like it fit him. It felt like that was during the era where it was like he got that belt over, so that other people, and not to say Ric Flair didn't. I'm talking about the WWF lineage of the Big Gold. He kind of got that over. That was the belt. Yeah, it was gifted to him. Him being the heel, him with
Hmm.
Randy, him with Bill. Anybody that he wrestled, it was like, yep. And then even when he moved back to the WWE Championship, I still just associated that with him. So the question I'm asking, I know Hugh, who loves Kane, probably thinks that belt is awesome. Do you think that belt does Kane any justice?
Yes and no. I mean, they got the colors right. It looks distinct, but they could have added a little more detail to really make it stand out. Like, this is Kane's belt. Whereas, like, you have so many wrestlers with, like, that red and black gimmick where it's like, is this Kane? Like, even when you were asking me, I was like, is that Kane? I can't recall. That could be someone else. But, like, you could have something where it's like you have Kane's mask as a part of it, or the different iterations of Kane, like something to make it stand out a little bit more to be like this is Kane's belt versus like, yo, this is dope with like the red and black.
I said, I love me personally, as you can see, I love red. I mean, that's part of the reason I got the tag straps on red for the wrestling room because I think that red is just a good color when it comes to a belt. But it felt like that red and gold didn't really blend well. Like the TNT title behind me, it blends very well. That I just felt
Yeah.
like because I'm so used to the Big Eagle having the blue globes on the side of it next to the eagle wings. It was like the red kind of, I don't want to say it was off putting. It just didn't feel like it flowed as much as the Big Eagle does. So let me ask you this about it. If you could change something about any of those belts, what would you change?
So the Mankind one's really good. I like the Triple H where like I said, like the belt framework really stands out and is very unique. I think what we just laid out for Kane's belt, like make it something a little bit more that is Kane, whether it's like his mask or you incorporate that. Like that would be the one I change out of the three. The other two are like they're good as is.
Okay. And see, and I thought the Mankind was such, and I think because we associate Mankind with that moment, out of those big eagles that we showed, it's like that one to me, it's okay. It's if we were going to do a signature series, that's the one I would go after because it was such an iconic moment.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna transition to everybody's favorite belt. It might not be my favorite belt, but everybody seems to love and put this in their top five, the Wing Eagle. Now, the Wing Eagle is synonymous with wrestlers from a different era outside of the Big Eagle. And when you look at some of these, it's insane to me that all I think about is ring gear when I see these belts. And I don't know if that was the purpose of them, but they have a whole different feel than everything else. So, just let me. What are your thoughts on the Wing Eagle Signature Series? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
So I'm gonna be 100% biased here because Winged Eagle is my favorite title. This is the title that I identify when it comes to wrestling because when I started watching in 1991, that was the premier title. Like if you look to my over here to my over my shoulder, I got Winged Eagle, but then over these shoulders, I have the other two OG titles from 1991. So I'm very nostalgic. I'm very old school, and because Winged Eagle is like my identity to like my childhood, and it's like if you want to be the guy, you had that belt.
Got you. So let's start with the Shawn Michaels. When you look at
Uh,
that, because that has a red, I'm
that
I'm gonna
man.
go in. I'm gonna go in the order for a reason, right? Now,
God,
Shawn Michaels might not have been your favorite wrestler or the best wrestler at the time, but you can't deny he did something during that time frame that made you pay attention to it. Every time I see that belt, all I think about is his ring gear. Nothing else does it. It just seems like that's just his ring gear slapped on side of a belt. What's your thoughts on that one directly? Because I know what I think. I just want to see what's your take on that one.
so I joke with Sean because it's like I'm Team Brett. So obviously, if you're Team Brett, then you're gonna be anti Sean. But like the design of that belt is very nostalgic because it takes me back to when like Sean broke away from the Rockers and started going solo when he had Sherry in his corner managing him, and he was finally like breaking away and being like a solo guy and establishing himself, and like that that belt is significant to like his gear and like what he was wearing to where it's like I'm no longer rockers. I'm not wearing highlighter stuff. I'm not wearing like the tassels and whatnot. Like I want to be like a little bit different, with like the animal stripes and stuff like that. So that belt does fit Sean. I don't know if I'm gonna jump a guy wearing a DX shirt. I don't know about that, but don't rule it out.
Oh man, I froze. Oh
You good? You back now?
yeah, okay, I'm
See,
back.
see, I started giving Sean, I started giving Sean love, and you froze. See, look at God.
So that tells you something. That tells you something right there, right? So I missed what you said, but I'm pretty sure you gave Sean some praise. But that leads me into the other thing. When it comes to the Bret Hart, I think the exact opposite. I don't think about his ring gear. I feel like it was kind of like they could have did more. I feel like it's just when you look at that one compared to the Shawn Michaels, I think about Shawn Michaels ring gear, but then when I look at the Bret Hart one, I just look at everything pink and black does not have to be associated with Bret Hart. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, when you think of Brett, it is pink and black and stuff like that. So like out of like the signature belts, that's actually like the one I would own and go buy, not just because I'm a Brett fan, because like those colors are basically synopsis with him. You know, they kind of go one in each other. Whereas like when you think Brett, he's the guy that got pink over. To whereas like no one was questioning like, yo, he's coming out in like pink, and we're gonna let that rock. Like, yeah, because you want to get your ass whipped by Bret Hart, and so that belt like really like pops for him, and especially like growing up, that was my guy. Like I was a
Gotcha.
big Bret guy. I respected Macho Man before we all were anti Hogan, because Hogan was the face, but like Bret was really my guy. So to see like him with the belt really meant something to me, and then you see those colors with it, it's like it matches. So I get it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. It is for me.
And see, but then when you look at the Ultimate Warrior one, I feel like they just slapped his mask behind it. And I'm okay with colors. I'm okay with putting some color splash, except for the NXT 2.0 belt. I think they did the colors completely wrong. I don't think they belong there. But these colors just like they jump out at you in the wrong way. It's like you either gonna love it because you was an Ultimate Warrior fan, or you're gonna hate it because it's too much. And do you think that mask in the background or the shape of his mask makes a difference for that one?
I think you put it perfect, which is like it could either be a good thing or a bad thing, where it could be just too distracting. But then at the same time, like imagine you go into a wrestling show and you got that with you, and then someone's like, "Yo, what the hell is that? Where'd you get that from? Who is that?" Like that's the conversation started right there because it's so distinct, and not everyone knows Warrior's mask because you have generations of wrestling fans that never really watched Warrior wrestle. He comes back around WrestleMania 30, and then he passes not too long after that. So you have generations that really don't know, like, yo, that mask is Ultimate Warrior. If you're not familiar, and that's where you can lead to in the conversations with it.
And said, I think when they changed the banners, like the championship banner at the bottom was like a bluish bright color. Then you had the pink for World. I was like, I think that's the part that just like threw me off a little because those colors on the belt, it was like, all right, we did something with the strap, but now you're playing with the colors on the belt. It just felt like it was, I wouldn't say too much. It was just either you really gonna like it or you're not. So, and that's where
Basically.
and the reason I picked these four to talk about because these are four distinct wrestlers that you're either gonna be team them or team the other person.
Hmm.
Because Undertaker, when it comes to him, you either really like him slash respect him, or you're like, I can do without it. Because a lot of people are in that category when it comes to their love or understanding the Undertaker. Because the man was around, it seemed like forever. And it seemed like anytime he probably still come back. I really don't think that he's fully retired. But to see this belt and like the shape of it, the purple, and then they changed it completely to silver. This is the one that to me was my least favorite because it felt like it was too much of a drastic change. If you did that
Hmm.
much of a drastic change, you might as well just change the whole belt altogether. They did do a tribute belt for him, but what's your
Hmm.
thoughts on the Undertaker one? What do you like and what don't you like about it?
I think you put it perfect, which is like for me, when you think title belts, I prefer gold. So anything that's not gold for me is like a turn off because it's like then it changes the look and the aesthetic of the belt, and sometimes it's a hit or miss. So with Taker's belt, and that's the thing is Taker. There's different iterations of Taker. You got Dead Man Taker, you got Biker Taker, you got so many different things where it's like, which one do we use to properly do Taker, or do we just fuse it because he was a man of just many gimmicks?
And see, that's my other thing because Taker transcended all of the eras, and this to me is just okay. Is an attitude taker because I feel like this is the first iteration of Undertaker we got when we got this belt, and
Hmm.
there's nothing wrong with it. I just feel like that wasn't the Taker that it doesn't signify Undertaker. It's like just one period of him, and the purple on the globe. Okay, that's kind of cool because it was silver and purple, but it felt like it was just I couldn't see myself carrying that to a show. I could see myself carrying it to have him sign it. I would never carry that to a show. I feel like it had to be on display because I'm an Undertaker fanatic. This is it. You know how we have those Hulkamaniacs, or if you want to say those Canaanites like Brother Hugh. I swear he's like one of the five that's in the world. um, or dare I say, Jerichoholics. I feel like this is what you would have him sign. Like you couldn't take anything else but this or the other belt that was one of like I think it was like 1,000 or something they printed of it. And I
Hmm.
know brother Corey probably has all of these signature series, which is crazy because he loves those wing eagles. But that's for another time. He probably gonna send me a nasty message about it. But like, I don't love the wing eagle that much.
But at the same time, Corey's a man that, like, if you know him, his belts got belts.
Yes, and he loves those signature series. If you know somebody's gonna have one, and he does break it down very well for us. So
Hmm.
now here's my take on these. Before we get to the last set of them, I think he was trying to say something. The last set are very much what I think when I hear signature series, because it should be more of a tribute to that wrestler. It shouldn't just be a rehash of a certain belt,
Hmm.
because when you rehash a certain belt, like in let's say ROH, when Matt Taven won the world title, he made the strap purple. That's unique to him. When Goldust won the Intercontinental belt, it was a gold strap. That was unique to him. And that brings me back to the other show. Does the strap matter? The color, it furthers that wrestler's gimmick. But when you think about these signature series, I always say, you know what? That's a good belt because it should be a tribute. So when we take a look at these next two, this is the ones I think are actually probably the best signature series. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna put that up. So, bam, you can look at them and see exactly who they are. Ric Flair and Stone Cold. I really think WWE needs to go more this route. And yes, the price is a little higher than them, but it's a tribute to them. Recently, somebody posted pictures of an FTR tribute belt. I don't need the AEW tag to have, something special about them or, they are stars on there because they 7 stars or whatever it may be. These belts for Ric Flair and Stone Cold, without a shadow of doubt, it's for them. It's for that classic fan, that diehard Ric Flair fan, because on the belt you have the limousine on one side, the jet on the other side, and everybody knows his catchphrase. It had wool all over the place. Do you think that this is more the route that we should go, or we should continue to do different straps for signature series belts?
I think this is the route you need to go because those two belts are gorgeous. They're very distinct. They let you know which person it is. The Stone Cold one is very identical to like Stone Cold's character, his gimmick, and just who he is as a person. Even Ric Flair, that belt is very flamboyant, just like Rick is. The colors are just gorgeous. It pops. It gets your attention. Like that's when you. I'm thinking signature series, especially if I'm be forking over those couple $100 that WWE is asking for. Make it like that. That's where you actually have me consider. All right, maybe I need to put some money to the side and go get this. Versus the other ones where it's like we're remixing classic belts, but it's like I'm not sure if I'm feeling that.
And see, that's my thing. Because let's say you're a diehard Ric Flair fan, we know you're probably going to have a big eagle, the one that he had. You're probably going to have a couple different versions of that big eagle for different points. But to have this that reminds you of his robe, that reminds you of him being over the top and larger than life, that person that you grew up watching, that's going to show. Stone
Hmm.
Cold Steve Austin, everybody knows him with 316, a skull, and beer. And that's what that belt screams all of that to me. Because those are the things that you associate with Stone Cold. Yeah, you can
Yep.
say the middle finger, you can say the stunner, but if
See, look at that. Brandon was giving him props, and then it locked up.
right, exactly. That tells you something. I don't know why I'm having such technical difficulties. Probably because um, the wrestling, who are saying, oh, he's either bashing or giving props to the wrong person. But
I
um,
mean, they be watching.
and here's what I'm gonna lead into for you to have you think of something. When we had belts on TV, like the Brahma Bull belt never made it to TV, but it was supposed to. But we had the Smoking Skull. Do you consider the Smoking Skull a signature series or a tribute, or just I don't want to say a replica belt, but just a unique championship for that time to further the story?
I look at it as like a unique belt to further the story in that time, similar to like Edge's own custom belt. When he came out, and was rocking that. I think of that where it's like that's to Edge, and that's for that time.
And
But
see, now what about the Immortal Belt? Jeff Hardy's Immortal Belt.
damn, I gotta remember what that thing looks like. But if I remember correctly, that was when I was like, "Yo, this ain't it, Jeff."
And and the thing about Stone Cold's belt, it felt like a big deal because he was a big deal.
Yeah,
Jeff Hardy's belt felt like, and I like Jeff Hardy. I adore the guy. I love his body of work. I hope that he stays healthy and continue to be healthy. But when that belt came, it felt like that's too much creative freedom. It felt like it was like, I don't know how that feels like a world championship. But when John Cena came out with the spinner for the U.S. title, it was like, oh, this is what we're doing. And then when he lost the U.S. title, it reverted back. So I was like, okay, it was just for him. But then he made the WWE Championship spin. Do you think that should have stayed as a John Cena exclusive, or should we kept that lineage that we have now?
see, I actually like the spinner, and I like the lineage that we got from the spinner, especially when Rock retired the spinner and came out with that WWF or WWE champion belt. And I've said this on social media, I hate that belt because I felt like that belt's very lazy. It felt like a 7-year-old came up with that because the spinner, at least you could see like they put a lot of thought, they put effort. You have the belt that actually spins. Is that golden, and then the insides of it like is very detailed, and then you go from that to like just the logo and then champion on the bottom. Felt like, wait, what? We're going from like an A+ belt to like a D- belt. Like why? Like why? Like I get it. They want to simplify it. They want to push the logo, and especially where you see now where like the company's at a place where they want that logo out there on the belt. That way, the Denver Nuggets just won the NBA title. What are you giving the belt? And what does the belt have? Our logo. So I get where they're coming from, and that was like the genesis of that. But when you put it to like the spinner is like very distinct, very unique. But then you look at all the people who's held that belt, from Cena to Punk to Rey Mysterio, and so on and so forth.
So you're one of the few people that like the spinner, but let me ask you a sidebar because I don't follow certain sports. Which belt will the Denver Nuggets get? Will they get the world title or will they get the network logo title?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they just got the last one, which is what Roman had before they merged it. Because I don't know if they're selling those new belts yet. But if the
Okay, I didn't know
Denver
what they
gets,
were going to get in the sports team.
so I think it's gonna be that black one that has the logo
The
before,
WWE World Championship before the
yeah, before they merge it with
undisputed.
the undisputed one.
Gotcha. Okay. So sticking to the signature series, right?
Hmm.
They had two other belts, and I want you to think back that actually makes you. I think it was a good signature series done because it takes you back to that wrestler's moment. The Intercontinental title when it was China's belt, and the Divas belt, which was the Bella Twins. Do you think it was done tastefully, or do you think that those should have been changed something different, like a whole China tribute type belt, kind of like what we have with Ric Flair and Stone Cold?
I would have preferred a full China belt to really show her love, but then at the same time, we get it. There's like a very checkered history with China and the company that's very well documented and stuff like that. I would have personally loved that they did like the same thing that they did with Rick. Whereas with the Bellas, I actually liked that Divas title, and I wasn't a big fan of that title either because I was like, how do you put this PG? Because I was like, all right, it kind of looks like a tramp stamp tattoo, but it's also like it doesn't really feel like champion or feels like a less than champion. But especially where you see where it's at now with like the women's titles look much better than that Divas title. But the Bella Twins Signature Series one looks good. Like I was like, all right, if I was gonna get one of those between the OG and that one and the Signature Series, I get the Signature Series.
I said I think it did it justice because when you think about the Bella Twins, you think about that championship. Correct me if I'm wrong. Nikki Bella was the longest reigning Divas champion, right? Nikki was, not Brie, right?
Yeah, so Nikki's the longest reigning, and Brie was the first of the two to hold it.
Okay, so it establishes their moment in, I don't want to say history because history is still being made, but it's their moment with that belt. And then when you look at China's, that will forever be until Charlotte or Rhea wins the Intercontinental title. China's always going to have that moment. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
They're always going to have that moment that China was the first woman to hold a men's singles championship. And it could be in other independent promotions, anything like that, but major promotions, China was the first one to hold that male belt, that second tier belt. And I think it's a good because it takes you back to that moment, kind of like with the Mankind belt. It takes you back to that moment. Now, when it comes to the Divas belt, let's talk about that for a second because I've gone on record saying,
See, he was getting ready to say something nice about the Divas title. And then the powers that be locked up and froze up his thing. Every time one of us glitches, that's going to be our excuse. It's like, yo, the powers that be. Or if anything, Vince. This is what happens when Vince is working remote. He's fucking with our internet.
this is not my day. I don't know what's going on with this. He's probably trying to jump in and help out the
Yeah,
situation.
man. I'm trying to jump in and help out the situation, man. Yes, sir.
Yes, I don't know what's going on. This has never happened before.
You know what? We're blaming Vince McMahon because Vince is working remotely and he's fucking with the internet.
There it
Stop
is.
it, Vince. Log off.
There it is.
And the crazy part is, it was happening last week. Dwayne is usually the one that has the technical difficulties.
Right.
I don't never have technical difficulties. Let's see. Are we
Not
back?
trying to let you be great.
It's not because I was about to break down the Divas title, and he said, "No, you're not. That was my belt. That was I came up with that concept. Stephanie McMahon created women's wrestling." So
She
the
did.
thing about the Divas belt, it was a good belt for the division.
There you go again.
Tell you, every time he tries to give someone love, he glitches.
Oh man.
I think that's the universe telling us something.
Yeah, it's time. To, look at him. He's mad. Look at his face. You all right, Brandon? Can you hear us?
I feel like I should just go on Facebook Live. This stream
Right.
ain't working out
You might
too
as
well
well.
for me.
There it is.
See? So the Divas title.
I just gonna move on to something else.
See, that's what it probably is. It's like, yo, you're trying to talk about this Divas title, the thing where, Paige did what with, who on that title. Like, yeah, let's not talk about that and bring that back up.
Right.
Oh, no, that was a women's championship.
Yeah, that definitely was a women's championship.
Yeah, that was the NXT Women's Championship. It was like, yeah, we got to
Yeah.
throw this entire belt out and come up with a new one because thanks, Paige.
Oh, shit. There you go. There you go.
There you go.
All right, we in Plan B, guys. Can y'all hear me?
Got
Yep.
you.
All right. Give me 1 second.
So, the Divas title.
You want to talk about that, or
All right. Plan B. Plan B. Sorry about the. Can you hear me? We good?
Yes. Plan B.
Yeah.
The B stands for
Plan B.
Bellas.
All right. So let me make sure you can see Dwayne's belt in the shot. I got to make sure. I can't do a show without Dwayne's belt in the shot. So the Divas title, and I hope Vince, please just let me get through the show.
he gets
It was
back on and says the name?
in
Okay.
the division, and I felt like it was growing because the women's wrestling, we were starting to pay attention, and that's where we got the women's wrestling that we have now. And I love that the conversation is changing from women's wrestling to just good wrestling. It's not just, oh, this is the women's match and this is that. I want to see as many women's matches on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown as we see in the male matches. I just want to see good matches. And the thing about the Divas, it helped flourish that, and it came to the point where you had those good wrestlers trying, but that's all they could do at the time. So thank God the women's evolution happened. It's still happening because I think that it's going to continue to evolve. I mean, as a side note, I don't know if anybody paid attention. That Rhea Ripley promo made her look like she was the biggest star on Raw that night. I was like, ooh. And when she put that belt around her waist, she felt like she was the most important thing. And I was like, uh-oh, Seth, you got some competition there. But back to these signatures, because we can go on a rant about that.
Yeah, because they actually let Rhea put on the title versus Asuka didn't even get the strap on before Charlotte came running out there like, ooh, brand new belt, I want.
My turn. Hey, remember me? And
I'm at 14. I still got to get to 16.
I got to win it every year. That's my streak. Every year I got to win the title. Every year. So
Eat, sleep, title, repeat.
Maybe I'll be the person, the Money in the Bank person, cash in on again this year. But I love Charlotte. I think that, and I'm gonna tell you this little tidbit about Charlotte. We're gonna get back to the Signature Series. We were at a
Hmm.
show in DC, and hearing the crowd respond to her, it was much different than what you see on TV. When I tell you they were like cheering and she was taking it all, and I was like, this is what they trying to present to Charlotte on TV every week. And it was
Hmm.
like, wow. And you could just see her natural self come out. And I'm like, why can't we get that Charlotte every week? Why we got to try to make her like she's this arrogant person? And she clearly is just a, I love fans. Look at me. But
But for
they got me stuck
reasons.
on that Divas rant.
For reasons, because I've seen Charlotte in person enough too, where I can co-sign what you're saying. Where it's like, there's a difference when people watch at home versus people that actually pay money and pull up and go watch them in person.
Yes. I got to acknowledge Brother Taquan. I know it's actually hilarious. I done froze more tonight than I think Dwayne has on all of the Wrestling Wrealm. Of course, Brother Hugh has to put it there. Oh, I took it down too fast. Of course, Brother Hugh, we know you like three wrestlers: Dolph Ziggler, Kane, and Charlotte. That's it. That's his three.
We gotta have a conversation with Hugh on Ziggler. It's like I'll give you the other two, but Ziggler,
Oh, he's a Zig. Don't say that too loud. He gonna. Oh man.
he
Um.
gonna Michael Myers me for that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole conversation about that one. And he gonna say. So, the point of tonight, and it kind of evolved into a whole show. I was
Mhm.
anytime I'm called out, and it wasn't a bad call out. It was a hey, by the way, and look what Hugh said. He said we got to address this one. Look what Hugh said. He said I'm about to get cut off again. He gonna cut me off this time of the stream. Um, but brother Taekwon gets it. Ziggy job does.
You said
But
it, not me.
Ziggler deserves better. But not too long ago, you had posted a picture about, hey, it's time to review something. I wonder basically what the guy thinks. Thank you, Dwayne, for having everybody calling me the guy. I think it's hilarious, and I'm gonna stick to it. So I'm always gonna say the guy. Um, you received a belt and you won it in a contest. How did you tell us a story about that belt? Because you know, on championship culture, every belt has a story. So tell us a story before you reveal the belt.
Bet. So shout out to Wrestle Rumble, those good folks over there. So they had their obviously, anytime there's like a pay per view, they do like their little competition. First place gets this, second place gets this, third place gets this. I forget. I don't know if it was Backlash or something else, but like it's one of those where it's like I ended up getting like fourth place, so it was like a mystery prize. So like the first top three got money, and fourth place got a mystery prize. So I was like, all right, bet mystery prize. This should be interesting. So they sent me the mystery prize, and it came in a big ass box. Where I was like, what the hell did you guys send me in this big ass box? And then as I'm unfolding, unpacking, and getting the stuff out, I'm like, oh shit, this is a belt.
So let me ask you this: when you say big box, was it the longer box? Because I noticed WWE is starting to ship their belts in the longer boxes instead of the big square ones. Which one was it?
It was a big square one, so it's like you couldn't tell what it was.
Okay.
You had to open it and go through it, and then it's like, oh, you see the black belt with like the zippers, like, oh, I know what that is because I got those three over there. So I was like, oh, this is a belt. And then I turn around and look at the front, it's like it's got someone's logo. I was like, wait, what did you send me? And then I unzipped it and pulled out the belt, and it happens to be.
Uh oh. So let's check this sucker out. So if anybody has watched any of championship cultures, they know my favorite belt is the undisputed championship. Brock Lesnar is one of those people that we associate with the belt. And they came out with a whole signature series of Brock Lesnar. On first look, it looks like it's bigger than version one of the belt.
This
That's a
belt is huge. Like when I put it next to like the winged eagle, is like double in size. Like fun fact, I had like my best friend and his wife come over, and I showed the wife like the belt and whatnot, and basically put it around her, and it took up her entire like chest and stomach completely because it was like huge.
you see what Taquan said? He said it's a plaque on a strap. So I can tell the main plate is huge, and a lot of people love and hate this about that belt. the
Hmm.
black paint on there, but I think that's silver. And I know you said you're not a fan of silver belts. How do you feel about that silver belt?
So this one is very detailed. It's got like the globe in the middle, World Wrestling Entertainment. It's got the scratch logo on top over here. You see the wings on the top as well. See if I see this is how big it is, where it's like it's hard to hold it and talk at the same time. But one thing is like the actual plate itself is very detailed, as you could probably see. And then you see like the belt itself, where like the sides are even detailed.
And
With
see,
like
what I know is they have black stones on it on this belt, which a lot of people are hating on the undisputed belt that it has the black stones on it. But I think the black stones pop on that because of the silver.
yeah, and then the silver actually matches with like the little like silver on the actual belt because if you look at the strap is like, black and silver, but then you go on the inside, and this is the cool thing about this belt. So the inside has his logo
Oh, so
in
it's up,
here.
put it in there.
So the logo, the red logo is on here, but then you also see like on the straps,
The
the
next big
next.
thing. And now
Yeah.
what I want people to realize that when he won that belt, that was his gimmick. He was the next big thing. He wasn't the beast incarnate. He wasn't, all that. He was the next big thing when he won that, because when he won the belt, it was a shock. And then had Paul Heyman turn on him, come back, so him turn on him, come back. What does
Hmm.
the belt tip look like on there? Because I see the belt tip, but I think that that's a tribute to him because they not only changed the color, but the strap itself is different. What's on the belt tip?
On the belt tip. Oh, here comes the pain.
Okay. So that's on the one side strap. The other side, is there something else on there? Was it? Yeah, at the
Looks
very end.
like
What does it say on there? Because I couldn't tell from the pictures.
looks like what should I call it? So it says Brock Lesnar on the actual like belt buckle, like right here
Oh, it does.
is
Okay,
his
that's what it
name,
is. Red.
and then you see like the little beast like right here
Oh, that's. Oh, you still
where
got
the
the.
blue is at. Yeah, I got.
Oh, don't take your plastic off. Let it. Oh, you had to take it off, but I know it had his face on it. I mean, his
There you
name.
go.
Wow.
So now you can see like the actual like the bull face with his name on it.
And it does look like it's massive because you can clearly see it. And it even has silver buttons on it. So they really did an overhaul. They just made it all silver and black.
Yeah, and like I said, like this belt is big. Like you see me struggling to like move it around compared to like the other ones, which is like I could do that with one hand. It's like no, you gotta hold this with two hands because it's heavy, it's big, but it's also like wide. So like when you put this like around your waist, this is one of those where it's like you can't wear this and sit down. This is like impossible.
Now, does it look like it has a curve? Does that one have a curve? Because I know a lot of the version ones didn't have a curve, and that look like that's based upon the version one of it because of the size of the eagle. But like you said, it's a bigger belt. Does that have a belt curve to it?
So not really. It kind of like you see it's like narrow here, and then you see like it widens quickly, like right here, to where it gets to like the middle because the middle that actually has like the title faceplate. Like I said, this is huge.
Hmm.
So it goes from narrow to wide really quick. This is one of those where it's like Brock and maybe like two other people can actually wear this belt.
And that's what Ty Quan said. He said it looks like. Let me show you what he said. He said if I feel like they measured Brock's waistline for that belt.
That's it's accurate because again, like when you put this you put this around a regular human being, they can't sit because it's that wide. So it's gonna be uncomfortable if you bring this to like a wrestling show. And then this is heavier than like normal belts, even the replica. So this is like you gotta lug that around for 3 hours. Like, and I'm not a fan of like bringing belts to wrestling shows because it's like you gotta carry that around the entire time. But if I had this belt, this is like nah, my shoulders would get tired after like a half hour. I'm just like, damn, rotate, damn. I'm just gonna have to put this on the ground because I just can't hold this. It's like heavier than normal. And I've
So
held like the actual WWE, like the actual WWE championship. And it's like same heaviness to where it makes sense to where it's like, yo, This is probably just for like Brock or maybe Roman.
So can we get the over the shoulder test? So a lot of belt. Actually, I'm gonna grab my undisputed so we can compare it.
This takes up half of my.
For the over the shoulder test. So
This takes up half of my body
yeah, I was gonna say
over the
it's
shoulder.
definitely larger because I still got room on my shoulder. It looked like it's covering. The belt isn't pointy, is it? The strap isn't pointy. It looked like it's stabbing you in the neck.
So luckily, like the points are rounded, but yeah, even that is like I don't want this close to my neck because it's like even though the points are rounded, it's still like pointy, and like this whole thing is where it widens, it's pointy.
So as you can see, on a whole adult man, it's actually covering up most of him.
And
Whereas
I'm
though
not a
my
small person. I'm not small. I'm big, and I'm like, yo, this basically almost takes up my body.
and see the thing about my version. Oops, it's upside down. Um, my version. I know my lighting isn't the best. Is your mark under here red? Under
No.
your logo, is it red or is it black?
So everything is silver on this,
Also, it's
including.
red on there, so they definitely paid attention to the detail. It
Yep.
looks like all the same spots are black, and this is just a comparison of the two. It looks like everything is black. I don't have a name on mine. That's part of the story of how I got it for such a cheap price because my belt was only $20. You actually beat me in the price because yours was free. So
Mine's is free, but then I looked it up and I was like, how much does this belt normally go for? And I was like, and then I texted dude at Wrestle Rumble. I was like, bro, what the hell did you give me? Because fourth place and I got a $500 belt.
yeah, it's normally $4.99, and currently today, if you wanted to order it, it's $3.74. So they actually have it on sale, and I don't know if that's before or after the coupons. And I always tell people, whenever you want a belt, just hold off because WWE Shop always has a sale. It seems like now the sales aren't as good as they used to be. But I figure with all these new belts being introduced, I thought we would see some more price drops. But maybe around Money in the Bank, we might see more. But I can tell you that belt, it's actually making me a little jealous, and I kind of wanted it silver now, but I don't know if I want Brock Lesnar that much. Not to say I'm not a Brock Lesnar fan.
Hmm.
Here Comes the Pain was a good time for him, and I think that that's what the Signature Series does. It takes that moment and clips it in there because when I look at that belt, undoubtedly I just think Brock Lesnar. I don't know if silver really was the way to go for him, but I would like to know the story, not from you. But I'm just saying in general, what made him do silver. I don't know if it sticks out more because this is one of those things I think about Brock. Would the gold look good? If
Hmm.
you had to change anything on that belt, what would you change?
The size, because this is huge. Now, like all jokes, the pointed sides, like right here, are very unique. But again, like if you're trying to like actually wear this or hold this around your shoulder, you have these things like jabbing at like your neck and your shoulder area and stuff like that. And even though again rounded, but it's a cool look aesthetically. But like if you're actually trying to wear this or like walk around with it, it's like, bruh, no. This
And
is
it
one of
looked
those belts you don't take outside.
and it looked like it's modeled after the current version that they sell. I know Brian H. Waters has current version, and it's I think 4 millimeter, and the center plate is that one about 4 millimeters as well. Because this, I don't know if you can see it, it's not super thick, but the black around it is all one part. Is it like a stacked or is it? Oh, it
So
looked
it's
like this.
like that. Well,
Yeah, that looked like that's more than 4 millimeters. That might almost be a 6 or 7.
there we go, like that thick.
Yeah, it's definitely a mass. I'm gonna put mine away because clearly, uh, that's a massive belt. That's probably about 6 or 7, and it looks like the nameplate comes out
Even
even more.
yeah, even the side plates are like about like that.
Gotcha.
There we go. Put it over here. That way you can see it like about like that.
And it's definitely it has some weight to it. Too. It's heavy too, right? Not just massive. It's heavy.
Yeah, it's one of those like I said, like you gotta grab this with two hands. Like you can't one hand this because you'd be like, whoa, whoa! I was not expecting that to be that heavy. It's like, yeah,
So will we ever see that at a Raw or SmackDown?
hell no, absolutely not. Again, I'm a person that like I don't like taking wrestling belts to shows because just because like I gotta hold on to it for a couple of hours and then let's say I like we want to do stuff afterwards, I gotta bring the belt with me or I gotta go back to the card and put it in there. And like, again, these belts aren't cheap. Like, even though I waited until those three went on a sale before I got it, well, except for the OG tag team titles, because I got that when they first put that on sale. Cause I was like, wait, you're finally selling this? Gimme, gimme, gimme. But at the same time, like, this was during the pandemic when we're like outside was closed. So it's like, I'm not really going outside. I'm not really traveling. I'm not going to shows. I got extra cash, so it's like I could eat like $300 because I waited till like they dropped under three to go get it, except for the tag team title. That one I got that when I first like went on sale. I was like, absolutely not. I need to complete the trilogy because I already had gotten OG Winged Eagle and I got the OG IC.
Oh wow. So that's you can put the belt down because I'm getting jealous right now. That thing is a monster. So let me ask you this. I have to ask every person that comes on Championship Culture. What are your top 5 world titles? I'm gonna go with world titles. Actually, your top 5 titles, period. Don't even worry about the world. Just give me your top 5 titles.
So again, I'm biased to the old school, so like 91. So that's Winged Eagle. That's the OG Intercontinental title with the black straps. That's the OG WWF tag team titles. The ones that you saw Legion of Doom, Heart Foundation, Rock. I love the $1 million belt. That's another one. That's the only one I'm missing from like that 1991 when I first started watching wrestling. That's the only one I don't have in the collection that at some point I'm getting it. Because now that I got Brock, I was like, all right, I wasn't going to get another belt. But now that I got 4, I got to like at least go get the $1 million belt and finish my quartet of like, yeah, this is my childhood right here. Because I remember when $1 Million Man actually put that up on the line and Virgil won it at SummerSlam. I was there for that. That was my first wrestling show was SummerSlam 91. So I got to watch Brett win the IC title in person. I got to watch Virgil win the $1 million belt in person. I got to watch Legion of Doom win the tag team titles in person. You know, Hogan at the time was WWF champion, so he had Winged Eagle. So those are my top 4. And then my 5th one, I'm not gonna lie, I love the women's championship from like before they retired it to what Rhea and was it Asuka have, because like I remember like I wasn't the biggest fan of the Divas title, but when they switched that over to the women's championship and had it identical to the men's, I was like, yo, I like this for the ladies, and especially with the white strap, the red in the middle, and then when SmackDown got theirs, the blue in the middle. And then that just looked really good for the ladies, and especially like where they were fighting for equality and to have a belt similar to the guys and stuff like that, and just to be on the same playing field as guys to finally have that belt. That looked better on the women than what the guys were walking around with. Not gonna lie. So that's my 5th.
Now I'm gonna address some things in backwards order. So when that women's title debuted, I loved it because I'm impartial red, and I felt like they put the women on the same playing field as the men because they said, "Yep, this is out. This is the men's world title, and this is the women's." So I was like, "Yes, we got in my mind, we're gonna start keep evolving things." And I thought it was kind of neat that they did that, and I'm glad with the matches we got after it, they put their money where their mouth is. They made them on the same playing field. I was so happy we started to get women main eventing not only Monday Night Raw but pay-per-views. I was like, this is perfect. To me, it was like, yep, this is exactly what I wanted to see. That no matter who, we're just going to have a main event. It doesn't have to always be a male match. It could be literally 2 women fighting for the title. Or I just take it back to the Sasha Banks and Charlotte wrestling on Monday Night Raw. I never got tired of that. I was like, okay, keep bringing it. It was always like, yep, I want to see them every week. But that's because of the time frame it was. Even when it was Nia Jax coming up and getting the women's title, Alexa Bliss, you name it. And then with the SmackDown one being introduced, then I started having a little disdain for it. And I'm going to tell you why I had disdain. Because they kind of corrected themselves now with these belts. Had these belts had just plain white straps like the men's and just only the swoosh had a different color, I probably would have loved them even more. Because right now, the 2 belts, I think that they're great that they're on white straps. And that's how you distinguish, that's a women's championship. But if you look at the Raw and SmackDown belts, they wouldn't have had to come out with new belts if they'd just been white with a different swoosh behind it. or made them a different
True.
color. Check, because we had a black one for the Universal. Why couldn't we have a red or blue behind it for the women and just had a white belt? But that's neither here or there. Or when you made a red Universal, just made it a red women's belt. I don't know, just to keep them on the same playing field. But that's my take on that women's belt. And I
Hmm.
think you're the first one that actually said they loved the $1 million belt. It was definitely different, and that was further in the storyline. And that's one of those belts that we talk about. It's in the same category to me as the Immortal belt, the Smoking Skull, the trying to think who else had like the Spinner belt. It was just further that storyline. So I feel like that
Hmm.
was always I don't want to say a forgettable belt, but it was for that storyline. And even when they tried to bring it back, even with Cameron Grimes and um, LA Knight, I was like, oh, that's a different way to bring it back. But it was like, all right, it kind of ran its course because it's always associated with Ted DiBiase. I need it for keep it in that moment of time. Keep it in that. Let me go back to that. So I always say, what's $1 million belt? But
And when you see it in person, it's gorgeous. It's like, yo, I get it, $1 million man. This is a gorgeous belt in person.
gotcha. All right, so
Yeah, like if I could add like a non WWE championship, which one I like, I'm a huge fan of the IWGP Championship. Before they changed it to that Transformer look that they have now,
did you say the
like the
IWGP?
OG, yeah, the IWGP Championship, like the top one. Before they morphed it into this Transformer nonsense that they got, like that OG one looks gorgeous. It's like I get why you do an entire ceremony and you put the title on someone because that belt is nice and it has lineage.
So, and it's crazy you would say that because I think the only way to fix IWGP version 5 is to make it bigger. If it was bigger, I think everybody would like it more. And the reason I'm saying that you can't have this belt next to your world title because it makes the world title look like it's inferior because that
Hmm.
belt is so much smaller in comparison to the United States. But
I
just
think it's the actual faceplate of the title itself. It's like I said, it looks like a transformer. Like I was never a fan of that. Like you had something great with what you had. Why did you have to go ruin this?
yeah, and it was like version 4 was so version 3 grew on me after I didn't see it anymore, and because
Hmm.
version 4 was so good, but it was like you really left forward to come up with another one. And I heard something on one of the people I watched on YouTube that they stopped in lineage, and this has a new lineage just because it was the Intercontinental and this one being merged. So
Yeah,
now they just started. Is that true?
yeah, because they didn't want to do the double champion thing. So like they had like a whole when they did the 2 night Wrestle Kingdom, that was a whole. We're gonna have the IC title main event night one because the IC title has a hell of a long lineage. Basically all the great wrestlers have held that IWGP Intercontinental title at some point. Then they had night two for the main title. And I remember that's when Naito, my guy, because I'm a big Los Ingobernables fan, became first double champion. But then at the same time, you're carrying two straps. So I think they were like, all right, the same shit with Roman, where it's like you have two belts, but you're not defending both of them. So let's just merge this. So that was their version of like, all right, let's just combine this into just one belt, even though people weren't happy because it's like, bro, the IC title had a lot of lineage. Like I remember, like Naito was feuding with the actual belt because like this is the belt that cost me my main event spot at Wrestle Kingdom, and so he would like purposely try to destroy this belt. He was like, "Fuck this belt! I'm gonna throw it in the air. I'm gonna throw it in the ring. I'm gonna throw it against the ring post." It's like something's gonna break. Either this belt is gonna shatter into a million pieces, or my hate for this belt because of what it did for my career is gonna finally dissipate. But you took all that away when you merged this title, and then no one liked it because it was just like, hell, why?
And so I'm gonna end on this for us today. I want you to give me. I'm gonna ask for three distinct ones for a signature series that you would like to see. So give me one male superstar, one female superstar, and one tag team that you would like to see in the signature series.
So the female one is simple. You've been building Charlotte Flair as the greatest women's wrestler of all time for a reason. If you're gonna do another women's signature series belt, she has to be the first one of the current roster and whatnot. So Charlotte Flair, They did a remix of the tag team titles with New Day, but I want to see an actual Signature Series belt with New Day, especially where you made a huge deal of them breaking the record for longest tag team title reign and whatnot, and what they've meant to the company as individuals and as a collective, as far as what they do in the ring, outside the ring, even on YouTube and stuff like that. So I would love like an actual Signature Series belt for New Day, and not just like, the current tag team titles with like New Day straps. Like, nah, put some actually thought into that. And for male superstars, I mean, the easy answer is a tribal chief, but I feel like Rollins really deserves one, and I would love to see what they do with Rollins, because you have Shield Rollins, you have Architect Rollins, you have Beast Slayer, Kingslayer Rollins, you have the freaking Rollins that's going right now, like Joker Rollins. So it'll be interesting to see what version of Rollins they did, if they did a signature series of them.
Now, see, and that's where I'm gonna hit you with this tidbit. Would you go with the Shield as a championship, a WWE championship, because all three of them have held it, and that would be the faction that you hold? Because that was gonna be my answer. I want to see a Shield signature series because all three of them was WWE champion, and do something with the Hounds of Justice as the middle plate. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see a signature series for them. The female, I almost want to see Charlotte, but Brian H. Ward is going to love this when I say this. I want Trish to have one, and I wanted to come out while she's doing this "Thank You, Trish" thing right now, because that would be the perfect thing to put out there. And I kind of want to give it the feel of like almost like the FTW title, where it's like it's there, she's defending it, she's furthering her "Thank You, Trish" storyline, and then I'm this important. Look what I've done. I made a whole new championship. Look at this belt. Or similar to like the Legends belt when TNA did it, that it was introduced by a legend of Booker T. But I want Trish to introduce her signature series on like a tribute to herself to further the story. I think that would give the jolt to the women's division that we need something else for them to fight for. And then the tag team, it's I know they're not with the company. My first choice would definitely be the Hardys or Edge and Christian,
Ooh.
because I feel like them, but then you got to do the Dudleys. But if you're talking about current team with them, I got to have the Usos. And the reason being that they made the petty tags their statement. I would love to see some, how they had the paint on the side of their face when they used to come down, and something with the Samoan heritage on there,
Mm-hmm.
and be their tribute, their signature series, and be like a tribute to when they first bust onto the scene during that era. Not those bloodline Usos, not the day one. I want them to go back all back to the Samoan dance that they used to do when they call it the Warriors dance and things like that. So, well, I think that was enough with the signature series. And Brian, I hope he was watching, because yes, I said I want to see a Trish signature series only to further this storyline, because I'm loving this. Thank you, Trish. I want to know what else she's going to do. I just want to see so much more with this. I want this to go all the way to WrestleMania next year or something with this "Thank You, Trish," because she's not lying, but it's making for good TV. And when I say I want, not to say that the women's title isn't enough, and me and Brother Hugh have said this multiple times, AEW and WWE need to switch titles. AEW actually needs the tag team titles for the women, and WWE needs like a TBS titles for their women, because they need a Intercontinental or second tier. And I don't want to keep saying Intercontinental. Even if they brought the European Championship back and said that's the women's belt, whatever, do something different for them, because we got 3 second tier for the men and we have none for the women outside of a tag team. And there really is no tag teams in WWE for the women.
True. I think, but the counter argument will be like, if you make it just one premier top title and one IC title, then Charlotte Flair or Becky Lynch dominates the premier title at all times, because that's what WWE has basically done over the last 2-3 years, where it's like whoever Charlotte or Becky's facing or feuding, and then what do you do with Bianca? Are you gonna have her take a step back? Because then if you have her go for the IC title, that's gonna be looked at by casual fans as she's being demoted compared to being at the top.
But see, that's where I'm going to give you a tidbit about Charlotte and Becky. I think Becky can survive any storyline without the title, because they figure out ways to make Becky relevant without the title. But I will say this. I don't know if WWE has made Charlotte relevant without the title. And she could be. Because think back to when she had to sub in for Becky and fight Ronda. That was the one match I really wanted to see. And Charlotte helped put Ronda over.
Mm-hmm.
But they keep saying her gimmick is to get a title. And I hate to say that. And it's like, I really, really, really think Becky could do wonders with that. And I always go back to remember that promo that Becky did with I'm tired of being I'm tired of being this. It's time for me to start being I am. And that whole summer, and then she lost and she turned and started beating Charlotte up at that pay-per-view. I was like, oh. And everybody, she was trying to get people to boo for it. They're like, no, we like you. Because Charlotte had the John Cena effect. Anybody beating her up, we're going to cheer for the other person at that time. And
Well, you said it perfect. It's like with Becky, you have years where Becky wasn't in the title picture, so she had to get herself over, whether it was the quinoa stuff or whether it was just putting on banger matches or going to like the smoke Becky and stuff like that. Where Charlotte always revolves around the title, and that's WWE's done that to a detriment because that now all we look at with Charlotte is titles, titles, titles. What's Charlotte Flair without a title? And it's like we don't know that answer because basically, even if Charlotte has like a blood feud, as soon as blood feud's over, she's immediately back in the title picture. So it's kind of like you don't have a personality or an identity because your identity has basically been like, I gotta be the best, I gotta be the champion. Whereas with Becky, we've gotten to see like many different layers of her personality, and that's the beauty of this feud that she's doing with Trish, which is like we've been begging WWE for years. Secondary storyline for the women without a title involved. And now we're actually getting that with Becky and Trish where this has legs. Like you said, like you can actually run with this for a minute. And it's something that Bayley did as well. Although Damage Control took a lot of L, so it didn't help. But like you're now starting to see that where you're getting secondary storylines with the women that doesn't involve titles. Whereas with Charlotte, it's like you come back, you immediately want a title match. It's like this is basically rinse and repeat for the last 8 years. And this is why there's a disconnect with fans. Because it's like we want to root for you, but...
And see, the thing about that with... And I know we probably can go down this rabbit hole. The thing I like about all these extra storylines is filling in the gaps that I keep saying. It just needs to be good wrestling. Because who doesn't want to see EO and Bayley and Money in the Bank, the last two looking at each other trying to climb the ladder? That's the story that I'm looking forward to the most. Not that Becky is coming out there. She can cut a promo. She can get the crowd going about her winning Money in the Bank. But then you got a dark horse of Zelina. Like, Zelina got the pop. Zelina got the momentum. She's telling a different story in the background. Same thing Liv Morgan was telling before she won it. Same thing. It was like...
You see it.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like, everybody's telling the story. It's like, who's really... And I love going into Money in the Bank saying who's going to win. And I never agree with a former world champion in that level winning Money in the Bank. I always want somebody new to give them that moment. Like when people like John Cena and all them win those belts, I'm like, you already had it. I don't want you to have a cash in. Like, I'm kind of glad Cody's not in it because I'm like, how you going to get back to Roman? I want to know because they're going to keep telling the story. But I want other people to get it. But I'm gonna let that marinate for a little while. Let me do one thing before we go. I want to pull up my notes here. Tomorrow is AEW, and a lot of people might be still wanting to get those last-minute tickets. Did you know that you could get a ticket and save some money? You can get $20 off your purchase by using the promo code Wrestling Wrealm at checkout. Anything over $50. And if you brought any ticket nowadays, you know a good seat is going to be more than $50, but save some money using Wrestling Wrealm promo code. And tell the people I know they can find you at It's Justin, but I want to make sure they know you've appeared on TWG Fan Club with those wrestling girls on that Twitch channel. You've also got a show on YouTube called JustinRitch Talks. You're occasionally on TWG Sound Off on Thursdays at TWG Collision and all locations of the Wrestling Wrealm. The Wrestling Girls platform. Turnbuckle Talks with Mimi and Corey on Twitter Spaces. And you want to tell me about the Turn Heel Heat Sports on True Heel Heat, which is a YouTube channel, which I got to subscribe to because I just found that out when you sent this to me. But they can always find you at It's Justin Rich, correct?
Yep, it's JustinRitch. Very simple. And then with the True Heel Heat channel, they got two. They got True Heel Heat Wrestling, where they do a lot of wrestling centric stuff. They do all the promotions, WWE, AEW, Impact, all of them. And then True Heel Heat Sports, where they do all types of sports, where we've done NFL weekly watch alongs. I just did Around the Point, one of their branch offs, where we actually watched the Champions League final. In soccer, we've done World Cup, we've done NBA Finals stuff. So they do all types of sports over there.
Got you. So now I have a new channel to go check you out on as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to end on this, everybody, and I appreciate everybody's time this week. Been a good show. Sorry about all the technical difficulties. I'll have it all worked out by next week, because next week is going to be a special show, and it's entitled, I like puns on title name. It's actually titled, Who Wore Better? So when you hear that, you're going to think about who wore the white Intercontinental strap better. There's a whole list of wrestlers that held it. And if you look closely at the Intercontinental title strap I'm wearing, I actually have a signature on it. So next week on Championship Culture, I'm going to tell the story behind that belt, why I have it, who signed it, why I had them sign it. And we're going to have a whole discussion about who wore it better. Check out next Tuesday for the Wrestling Wrealm Presents Championship Culture. And if you're not doing anything on Wednesday night, you can always check out the Wrestling Wrealm flagship show on Wrestling Wrealm on YouTube or anywhere that you find any kind of podcast. Got anything you want to leave the people with, Justin, before we go ahead and sign out?
Nah, you hit all the plugs and stuff like that. If you got the money, spend it, because these belts are gorgeous, dude. You got to own at least one of these.
And if you want it on Monday, you'll definitely want it on Tuesday. It might be cheaper on Tuesday. So thank you for joining us on Championship Culture. And don't forget, every belt has a story. Can't wait to hear yours. Have a good night.
Houston, we have a problem. Yes!